I often have students ask me about the difference between a British accent and an American accent. There are many things that distinguish these two accents, and I thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss. I'll only be covering some of the differences though, not all of them. I also need to start with a disclaimer. I will be talking about a generic English accent, or what we sometimes refer to now as received pronunciation, or RP, because that's what I speak in. But in the United Kingdom, we have between 40 and 50 regional accents, and they are all very different. Obviously, you have the differences between Welsh, Northern Irish, Scottish, and English, but even within the separate countries, you also have lots of different regional dialects and accents. A person from Glasgow will have a very different accent to a person from Edinburgh. And in England, a regional accent from Cornwall is very different to one from Yorkshire. But in this video, when I'm referring to the English accent, I'm talking about the generic English received pronunciation. Now, I'm less familiar with the regional accents in the United States, but obviously it's similar there too. A person from South Carolina will have a very different accent to someone from New York, say. Again, for the purpose of this video, I will be referring more to a generic American accent. Here they are, some of the main differences between an English accent and an American accent. Firstly, it's all about the R's. One big difference between the English accent and the American accent is that the English is what we call a non-rhotic accent, while American is a rhotic one. A rhotic accent is an accent that always pronounces the R sound whenever it appears in words. An RP, received pronunciation English accent, only pronounces the R when it is followed by a vowel. For example, realize, right, curious. But when the R isn't followed by a vowel, we don't pronounce it. Americans, on the other hand, will nearly always pronounce the R. Listen to these various words and see if you can hear the difference. Let's start with the word for this. English accent, bird. American accent, bird. 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 Party, English accent. Party, American accent. Party, party. Party, party. English accent, word. American accent, word. Word, word. Hard, with an English accent. Hard. An American accent, hard. Hard. Can you hear the difference? So, if you want to sound more British, don't pronounce the R unless it is followed by a vowel. But if you want to sound more American, then always pronounce the R, or always pronounce the R. Another big difference between an English accent and an American accent is in the vowel sounds. The English accent has vowel sounds that don't really exist in the American accent. And perhaps this is why it is much easier for an English person to do an American accent than it is for an American to do an English accent. It's difficult to find an American who will do a truly convincing English accent. Someone like Renee Zellweger in Bridget Jones does a good job. Someone like Keanu Reeves in Dracula, less good. This difference in vowel sounds really came to my attention when my husband, who is from North America, from Canada, used the word for this. Or rather, when he heard what I called it. In North America, they call it a Christmas ornament. In the UK, we call it a bauble. A bauble. The first time I used this word in front of my husband, he looked at me like I was crazy and said, "What's a bauble?" I said, "No, not bauble, bauble." But he really struggled to say that sound. And I realized that sound, or, you will never hear in an American accent. And it's the same with the O sound. An American would pronounce these words this way: nut, lut, dot, ah, like ah. But with an English accent, lot, not, dot. Lot, not, dot. Lat, nat, dat. Can you hear the difference in the vowel sounds? Americans don't use that O sound. This is why my favourite swear word doesn't work with an American accent. What is my favourite swear word, you may ask? It's this one. With an English accent, we say bollocks. You have that O sound. Bollocks. It doesn't work with an American accent. Bollocks. It's not the same. And there are many vowel sounds that are different. Often the vowel sounds with the English accent don't necessarily exist in ones with an American, but we do have all their ones in ours. Take these words. Can't, plant, dance with an English accent. With American, can't, plant, dance. Can't, plant, dance, can't, plant, dance. American English is generally more nasal, while an English accent is produced a little lower in the throat by dropping the jaw. We drop our jaw to make room for long sounds like R, which appear in words like far or car. Also, the air diphthong, like bear and care. The American accent is produced a bit higher. Other words that diverge in pronunciation between the British and American accent are words in which you have a y sound in the UK pronunciation. For example, during, news, and tune. With an English accent, those words are said with the y sound. For a British person, we would say news with a y, news. With an American accent, it's news, news. They don't have the y sound. So, with an American accent, during, news, tune. With a British accent, during, news, tune. Take even the pronunciation for this platform. An English person will say YouTube with the y, YouTube. It's why we say tube. But Americans will say YouTube. Another big difference with pronunciation is that Americans often use a D sound instead of a T when the T comes in the middle of certain words, but an English accent retains the T. So this word, with an English accent, party, an American accent, party, 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 party. You can hear the difference with the R sound there too. This word, water, 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 water. Hear the difference? Now, there are many other differences I didn't cover in this video. And putting accents aside, there are so many other differences. There's the different vocabulary we use. A classic one, this one I will tell you a bit about because it's odd for someone who's British. Americans call these pants. For us, however, these are pants, underwear. These are trousers. So it would confuse me when I watched American films growing up. Someone would say, oh, I spilled stuff on my pants. And I would think, no, you didn't. You spilled something on your trousers. We can't see your pants. So there are differences in vocabulary, pronunciation, and we've discussed a few of those points. There are also differences in how we use tenses, our intonation, in where we put the stress in a word. For example, take this word. Someone from the UK would say advertisement. Someone from the US would say advertisement. We pronounce the second syllable, advertisement. They pronounce the third, advertisement. Again, this is just one example of many. There are so many other differences, but we'll save that for another video if you are interested. Let me know in the comments if you are and you'd like to hear more about the differences between British and American English. I hope you found this video interesting. If you have any requests as a result, please leave them in the comments below. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Bye.